Equality versus equity, both enshrined in our constitution in letter and spirit, and both at the center of a mammoth political slugfest currently, in the thick of elections. Former Bihar Chief Minister Lalu Yadav stoked a controversy strongly countered by the BJP led by Prime Minister Modi himself when asked if he supported reservation for Muslims. He said, "Reservation to milna chahiye pura." Translated into English, it means Muslims should get reservations completely or in full. Prime Minister shot back, accusing the India Alliance again of wanting to snatch the reservations of OBC, scheduled castes and scheduled tribes and to give it to the Muslims. Let's listen in.
रिजर्वेशन तो मिलना चाहिए मुसलमानों को पूरा।
एससी, एसटी, ओबीसी समाज को जितना आरक्षण मिला है वो छीनकर ये लोग पूरा का पूरा आरक्षण मुसलमानों को देना चाहते हैं।
Now, does India have religion-based reservations, particularly for Muslims? What is the basis for backward reservations in India? It's a wide ambit. We have experts who will join us in a bit. But while trying to understand this complex issue, let's look at South for a broad overview. And before we get into that, it's not just about Lalu Yadav or what he has said. Instead, it's about the allegation of Congress playing to the Muslim vote bank, allegations made by the BJP, with Congress alleging BJP is flipping, desperate and wanting to change the constitution. So before we look at the south of India and the Indian constitution, let's just very quickly look at this political exchange. All right, we seem to have some issue with that. We'll try and play that out in a bit. But let's start with Karnataka. The Siddaramaiah government in Karnataka created a 4% subcategory out of the 32% reservation for OBCs, reserved to Muslims. But this was based on backward group committee recommendations that were categorized based on the recommendations of certain panels. However, the BJP-led Basavaraj Bommai government has put the quota on hold last year, redistributing it among the Vokaligas and the Lingayats, two extremely politically dominant groups, increasing their quotas possibly by 2% each. And Muslims continue to benefit from the economically weaker sections. Quota. But is this religion-based? Experts say this is based on the categorization by communities, which has been recommended by several panels. In Kerala and Tamil Nadu, quota for Muslims is within the 30% OBC quota. In Tamil Nadu, a subcategory of Muslims with 3.5% reservation was created. This did not include upper caste Muslims. In Kerala, as I said, it's within the 30% based OBC quota, 8% reservation in educational institutions, and 10% in government jobs. In Andhra Pradesh, the undivided state, a 5% reservation was struck down post the 2004 move. But according to Faizan Mustafa, the court held that reservations for Muslims or sections among them in no way militate against secularism, a basic structure of the constitution. In Telangana, former Telangana Minister and Bharat Rashtra Samiti MLA K.T. Ramarao has said the 4% Muslim reservation in the state is not on the basis of religion, but on the basis of socio-economic status in the community. This, as Union Home Minister Amit Shah promised that the BJP government would end Muslim reservations in the state after coming into power in Telangana. There are different versions depending upon the politics that one follows, at least to claim and to counter. But what is India's stand? Of course, India has a wide-ranging demography. changing the narrative state to state, reflecting on the politics as well. But what India is governed by is the Constitution. Let's look at what the sections of the Constitution possibly permit. Article 16, no discrimination based on identity, equality in any employment or office under state. State is permitted to make provisions for reservation. Reservation has to be in favor of any backward class, and state's discretion is sought to determine which backward classes aren't adequately represented, and this of course is based on several panel recommendations, as would have happened time and again. Then you have Article 15, where the state is prohibited from discriminating against any citizen. Discrimination on any grounds is not permissible. Well, we'll look at various aspects of this. I have a great panel of experts who will try and break this down for us from the prism of India, of how India looks at reservations, of what is India's legacy in this. But before that, as I said, let's just quickly look at the political back and forth, this time between Jairam Ramesh and BJP's Annamalai.
What Karnataka Congress did, blanketly they said, oh, from tomorrow morning all Muslims are OBCs. Is it allowed? How can you classify? Oh, religion-based reservation is not allowed since BJP has taken up. Then Congress said, okay, tomorrow morning all Muslims you are going to consider as OBCs. Now who is going to get suffer? So you are going to touch the reservation policy that is protecting our SC/ST brothers and OBC brothers for a long time. You are going to eat into their pie.
What we had done in Karnataka in 1994, we gave reservation to all minorities, Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, Jains, everybody, based on economic and social backwardness. Mr. Devegowda has claimed credit for it. Today, Mr. Devegowda is Mr. Modi's ally in Karnataka. Mr. Chandrababu Naidu wants to do in Andhra Pradesh what has been done in Karnataka. Mr. Chandrababu and Mr. Modi are allies. He's accusing the Congress of using religion as a basis of reservation.
All right, as I promised, amid all of this political back and forth, if you're trying to understand where does India stand, what is the reality of India, this is the one stop for you. I'm being joined by Faizan Mustafa, who's an author as well as an academician, Madhavan Narayan, who's a senior journalist. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us, for taking your time. This is a hugely important topic amid the thick of elections. And you both have a very challenging task right before you. Faizan, Mustafa, let me just start with you. And of course, we have political voices, but we just thought we need to get both of you first to get the reality fact check. Faizan, Mustafa, as I said, first to you. What is India's status? Do we have religion-based categorization or religion-based reservations in India? As we saw, there were cases of reservations being provided. We specifically saw what's the status with Muslims. But is this religion-based?
Thank you very much, Sneha. The whole question is that Article 15 and 16, to which you made reference, specifically prohibit a state from discriminating only on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth. The crucial word is only. So if you discriminate against anybody only because of religious identity, it is clearly hit by Article 15 or Article 16. But if in addition to religious identity, somebody is socially and educationally backward, or somebody has been found to be just a backward class. Well, this is the difference between Article 15 and 16, that 15 is not using word reservation. It is talking of special provision in favor of socially and educationally backward classes of citizens or scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. So it covers basically the reservation in admissions. In fact, this clause was inserted after a Durai Rajan case, which struck down the communal reservation of pre-independence era in Madras. Now, 16 makes a specific reference to reservation, And it again says you can't be discriminating only on the basis of caste or religion or place of birth or residence or descent or sex, like this. Now, if you have a reservation only on the basis of caste, there are a number of reservations which have been made by different state governments for Pattidars, for Jats, for Gujars, for Marathas. They were all struck down because the backwardness was not proved. Same is the case with Muslims. If Muslims are given reservation for being a Muslim, no other qualification required, then it is a religion-based reservation, absolutely unconstitutional. But if reservation is given after looking at social and educational backwardness on the basis of a report by some authority and then approved by the Backward Classes Commission, which now is a constitutional authority, then that reservation is not based on religion, because only is not there, only on the basis of religion. What we are missing in the entire debate is word only. Secondly, nobody other than SCs and STs has what you call Poora reservation. So for SCs, you have 15% reservation. For STs, you have 7.5%. But for OBCs, if you look at the Mandal Commission report, Mandal Commission found that 52% of our population is OBC, but entire 52% has not been given reservation. Only 27% have been given because there is another rule that all reservations taken together cannot cross the 50% upper limit. That's how it was to be kept, at 49.5%. So 15% SC, 7.5% ST, and 27% OBC reservation. Now, within this 27% also, creamy layer is to be excluded. So if you are a backward class Muslim, but you are covered by creamy layer, your annual income, say, is 8 lakhs, not entitled to reservation. So all Muslims not entitled, rich Muslims not entitled, only because you are Muslim, you are not entitled. And therefore, this whole debate, I really don't know what politicians have in their mind and how they construct their arguments. But never in Indian history, in any state, SC/ST reservation was reduced to give Muslims reservation. Whatever reservation was given to Muslims, it was given to them within the OBC. So one sub-quota was created. In Kerala, as you know, 8 such categories are there. One of that category is Muslims. Similar is the case in Telangana or in Karnataka. So it is not the reduction of OBC reservation, but within the OBC, one category has been marked as Muslims. And therefore, one can only laugh at the current debate.
Okay, if that's what you're saying, and I know I would like to get your opinion on it as well, but Madhavan, Narayan, and you join us. One of the states that is at the thick of all of this debate seems to be Karnataka, where there was a percentage that was introduced within the larger ambit, and then Bommai government came in and said, we're putting this on hold, this has to be cancelled, and redistributed, as we can understand, between the Vokaligas and Lingayat. Now, in the light of what the political narrative is, in the light of what the constitution is, in the light of what Faizan Mustafa is, can you explain to us factually what Karnataka's status is?
Sneha, let me first say that politicians are deliberately confusing the issue, and I must thank Faizan Mustafa, who spoke so well today, and yesterday I read this article by him in Indian Express, which also explained it in further detail. But let me, for the benefit of your viewers, say it in simple language so that people will understand what it means. You know, Shah Rukh Khan's son cannot claim reservation under Muslim quota under the Indian Constitution. Or nor can the, the children or offspring of Arif Muhammad Khan, who is the governor of Kerala. That's because, let me explain in simple language. The Muslim society in India, which many other non-Muslims don't understand, is that it also has castes and communities and sects and subdivisions which mimic the Hindu society, and therefore it has a social hierarchy that requires affirmative action to help the backward sections of these. And BJP likes to call what progressive politicians across the world call affirmative action as appeasement. And that is what is creating controversy. Inclusion and diversity are now part of social justice, which is there in the preamble of the Indian Constitution. Now, let's come to the Muslims. You know, generally, I've heard that Sayyeds, Sayyids, Mughals, and Pathans are called upper caste Muslims. So, Sayyids are like Brahmins, Sayyeds are like Vaishyas, Pathans are like Kshatriya, and Mughals are like Kayasthas, roughly speaking. And there are other heterodox sects like Ahmadiyas, and there are Sufis, and there is the so-called Pasmanda Muslims. Pasmanda means backward, who are like Dalits. So please understand that the Muslim society also has backward sections. Now, the Karnataka quota is becoming controversial because even the government does not, even Siddaramaiah or the anti-BJP parties that are introducing quotas, they do not go articulate enough to say that, look, we are excluding the creamy layer, whereas actually the creamy layer is being excluded. That brings us the question of how do you define the
Why
creamy
do they
layer?
not do that?
Sorry, can't hear you.
Why do
Sorry?
they not do that?
Sorry?
Is there benefits of that as well, of not putting out the complete picture?
Exactly, because they want to get, it's a vote bank politics in which they want to obfuscate the issue by disguising partial affirmative action as a wholesale thing so that they'll get more votes in arising out of the confusion. And BJP also wants to play that game by artificially creating a transfer of votes from OBCs to Muslims, which has happened on a very minor scale in Karnataka, and that it amplifies for the entire country to project an image of large-scale dispersal, whereas we already have Supreme Court judgments and rulings and precedents so that this case cannot be abused. Now, let me also add that representation under this Article 16 of the Indian Constitution is different from equity as I see it. Representation means, are these people well represented? Equity means, can we do something to give that extra push to reduce the injustice in society? Now, right against discrimination, it should be understood. It need not be about the government or the state. There is a lot of anecdotally, you hear about social discrimination against Muslims who do not, in many cases, get flats to live in on desk tenants. So is social justice promised under the preamble a factor in this? If that is the case, what I suggest is, right now it is too much controversial because it's been politicized to a point where there is no meaningful clarity, but there is sufficient Supreme Court precedents as well as constitutional clarity. But practically speaking, one way to bring more representation is to introduce scholarship or special educational programs, because the fact is that even the so-called upper caste Muslims, unlike the upper caste Hindus, are not properly represented in the government or in higher positions of society. So the important thing to remember is that inclusion based on diversity as well as affirmative action based on equity are not being properly recognized in Indian society today, although the Constitution is already very clear on this and the Supreme Court is clear on that. So we need to educate people that Muslims also have castes. And not everybody is going to get reservation. And third, that the Constitution is very clear, the Supreme Court is very clear, that you cannot simply take it out of one OBC and give it to Muslims. You know, this is all political skullduggery or imagery that viewers of the mirror now should see through. And I think I hold Congress also guilty of this, because they should, what Jairam Ramesh says should be said in better language across the country, in loudly.
Right. Faizan, Mustafa, back to you. Now, whether we are calling it reservation or affirmative action, two having very different connotations, as Madhavan Narayan put it, at least the context and the subtext. But when we're talking about this quota particularly, tell me something. Of course, the vote banks are different. There is polarization for vote bank, as it were. But beyond all of that, when we look at the existing reservation system in India, is it skewed according to the ruling dispensation that a state may be represented with? Is it correct when you say that West Bengal has majority of reservations under the OBCs for Muslims? If that is correct, then is the basis of that as it would be the economic standards? Now, this is what is one of the arguments that is being put out by those who are countering the Congresses or those who are politically opposing the Congress. Now, tell me, is this a correct interpretation of what may be the situation in West Bengal?
Sneha, it is factually and legally wrong. West Bengal is not having Muslim reservation. If you look at the caste structure of Muslims, Anthropological Survey of India has identified 704 castes amongst the Muslims. Mandal Commission has identified 82 castes among the Muslims, which were also accepted by the central government. Also, you should keep in mind, way back in 1901 census, 1931 census, the three Muslim groups were recognized: Ashraf, which is elite, and then Ajlaf, who are the backward class people, and then you have Arzal, who are the people who are Dalits. Now, I give you an example that there is a caste called Shekhra from Gujarat, which migrated to Bihar and is predominantly there in the Araria district. Now, these people subsequently started calling themselves Sheikh, but they are basically bone collection people. So they are looked down, they are basically untouchables. You need to understand that most of the conversion which took place to Islam took place from the lower caste. And that's why I have written in my article that both in Kerala as well as in Karnataka, even prior to independence, they said that almost all the Muslims who are there, they are backward class Muslims. Now, Sira Ramaiya thing, an example which you gave, put on hold, is factually wrong. This reservation is there since 1995. It was originally implemented by Dev Gowda government. The Bommai government last year, just before the election, said we are scrapping it. Supreme Court stayed it. So as things stand today, there is a stay on the scrapping of a Muslim reservation in Karnataka, which is there for good 30 years. So there is nothing new which is going to happen in Karnataka. In West Bengal, as far as I understand, there is no reservation outside the OBC. There are a number of Muslims who are entitled to reservation within the OBC. The only legal issue is, can you have a sub-categorization within the OBC class? For instance, we have a categorization in Bihar, Dalit, Mahadalit. In some states, we have backward and more backwards. So like this, in Kerala, you have 8 such categorization. Can you have a categorization where you pick up backward Muslim castes who become entitled to reservation as a group, as these backward castes are not able to compete with dominant Hindu backward classes? There is absolutely no question of reducing the SC/ST
Faizan, Mustafa, some extremely important points that you are making. I'll come back to you for one more question, but before I do, allow me to just introduce my other panelists who joined me at this point. Madhavan Rao, who's a spokesperson for BJP, Vivek Silas, who's the national spokesperson for SP. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining. Madhavan Narayan will stay on with us, but I request 3 of you for a little bit more patience with us. Let me just ask my last question to Faizan Mustafa because he needs to leave after this. Faizan Mustafa, my last question to you at this point. So you are essentially saying the state at which India is currently, the legality of it, you do not see any state in India or any party in India that can moot for Muslims only reservation based only on religion. That's what you're saying. So how then one should view this entire political narrative?
No,
Yeah,
you're right.
but
Yeah, Sneha, it is possible if you look at the Indra Swami judgment, and if you look the Balaji judgment, Vasant Kumar judgment of Supreme Court has repeatedly said it is possible that one entire group is held and found to be backward. If one entire religious group or one entire caste meet the 11 yardsticks which were set by the Mandal Commission, then that entire group can also be treated as a backward class and would be entitled to reservation, but not as a religious group, as a backward class.
Right. Okay. Faizan, Mustafa, thank you very much for joining us, for putting things in perspective. Appreciate your time and your insights. Thank you very much. We're being joined right now with Madhavan Narayan, who is staying on with us. Also, Madhu N. Rao, as I said, the BJP spokesperson, and Vivek Silas, the spokesperson for Samajwadi Party. Madhu N. Rao, you heard our panelists speak at this point. What exactly is the objection that BJP is having to this entire political row, including what Lalu Prasad has said at this point? Is it the word Poora? Is it the word complete or full?
Sneha, good evening, and good evening to all of your viewers and as well as the panelists. Well, as simple as said, I think someone needs to understand the Constitution is. Now, let me not go too back in history. I'll just go to the history of the Constitution because everyone was talking about the Constitution. Constituent Assembly, 26 May 1949, Tajmal Hussain told, we Muslims do not want any concession, do not want protection, do not want safeguards. We are not weak. This concession would lead more harm than good to the Muslims. This was told on 26 May 1949 in the Constituent Assembly debate. Point 2. Naziruddin Ahmad from Bengal told, they imply a kind of inferiority, they arise a kind of fear complex, we need not have any minority. This is what Mr. Naziruddin Ahmad told. Maulana Hasrat Mohani told that the term minority, I oppose to it. B.H. Zaidi told, Begum Aizaz Razul told. The point of fact is simple. After all these deliberations, Constitution was made, and in the Constitution, there was a conscious effort in order to ensure that since the secularism was an issue, therefore they thought there should not be any religious-based reservation. Now, what's wrong in this, we're asking? Point 1. Point 2, what did Bombay government do? Our government, we only removed the 4% which was given under the category of 2B under the OBC status, which was removed and given 2% to the Vokaligas and the Lingayats. Now, that was question fair enough. Now, who did this? Question is this, Sneha, let me tell you one thing. Just give me a minute, please. I will not take much time. Everyone were talking about the commissions. Now, let me come to the commissions. The first commission in Karnataka was made in 1961 by Nagan Gowda Commission. They brought in this concept, but it was kept in suspension because of a lot of furor. 1975, Devaraj Aras came. Devaraj Aras also brought in something called as a Havnur Commission that went up to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court then told, no, we are not happy with this, set up another commission. Then in 1984, Venkat Swamy Commission was made. They gave reservation to the Muslims, took away from Vakaligas. It was scrapped. 1990, O Chinnappa Reddy Commission, they recommended 6%, and the Congress government at that point of time, in the cabinet committee, they accepted for the 4%, and notification was given during 1984. The point is simple. Let me please be enlightened by the fact, where is the religion-based reservation? We are only telling, let there not be religion-based reservation.
But how are you seeing this as only religion-based, as what a panelist earlier said? Madhavan Rao, you've made your point. We'll come back to you. Vivek Silas, how do you respond to 1, what Madhavan Rao has said, and 2, did Lalu Prasad Yadav, when he said Poora reservation or complete or full reservation, did he just fire in the air all over again?
Yes, good evening, Sneha. First of all, I would like to say that we talk about Lalu Prasad Yadav ji today. But it's so incredible that we don't talk about the TDP chief Chandrababu Naidu, who's a part of the NDA. He said the same thing in Andhra Pradesh. But it's so surprising, Sneha, that the media doesn't even utter a word about it. The Chandrababu Naidu said the same thing, that Muslims should be given the complete reservation. Because he is a part of the NDA, so the question should not be asked to him. That is so sad in a democratic country, and I feel very sad for the media also, because you have your own restrictions as well. Sneha, I can understand. Look at what happened if we see in the first phase.
Since you mentioned it, let me just tell you right at the introduction, I don't know whether you were there when we mentioned our introduction, and I gave an entire overview of the show. I very clearly specified what was happening in Andhra Pradesh. I very clearly said that. However, please continue with your point, sir.
Yeah. The Honorable Prime Minister started his journey from before the first phase of the election. Now we have crossed the third phase. He started saying Muslim League, then he came to mutton, then he came to machli, then he came to Mangal Soot, then he came to bhans, buffaloes. Then he shifted to Pakistan. After that, he went to the Sharia. And then he went to Godhra. This is just, you know what, doing the Hindu-Muslim hatred politics is not going to work for India now. It should not be. It's sad. It's not that I am from the Samajwadi Party, so I'm feeling sad about what the Honorable Prime Minister and how the Bharatiya Janata Party or the NDA is taking the election forward. It's not good for any democratic country, not only in India, but any democratic country. Because you are just polarizing and you are just trying to make a mountain out of a mole. कि हिंदू खतरे में है, कभी कहते हैं मुस्लिम खतरे में है, you know, माँ से मटन, माँ से मटन, माँ से मछली,
I'll go to Madhavan Narayan, and before I go to Madhavan Rao, but one question, Vivek Silas, did you as an ally, as an individual, as a politician, did you understand what Lalu Prasad Yadav said today? Because I couldn't. As a journalist, my first question was, what was the context he was saying? What was the full sentences? Give me the full sentence. I need to know what was the totality, and yet I couldn't understand what did he mean by Poora dena chahiye, Poora reservation. Did you get that?
I have that clip, Sneha ji, I'll just send you. When asked about whether Muslims should be given reservation, he said कि हाँ उनको reservation मिलना चाहिए थोड़ा. That is what he said. And
Poora. No, he says Poora.
In the evening, he condemned it. Achha, he said Poora. Okay. But at the end of the day,
he said Poora.
He said कि no, he didn't mean what the media has said. So he took back his what he said, the statement what Mr. Lalu Prasad Yadav ji has said. He took it back in the evening. Maybe I don't know what was the thing, because I don't belong
we'll
to
just
the
very
RJD
quickly listen
either.
to Lalu Prasad Yadav just to check if we are correct. Just Lalu Prasad Yadav's reaction, not any other reaction.
Okay.
Just Lalu Prasad and Madhavan Narayan, I'll be coming to you next. Let's just very quickly. So we are on the same page. We know either you or I are not mistaken about this.
रिजर्वेशन तो मिलना चाहिए मुसलमानों को पूरा.
SC, ST, OBC समाज को जितना आरक्षण मिला है वो छीनकर ये लोग पूरा का पूरा आरक्षण मुसलमानों को देना चाहते हैं.
रिजर्वेशन तो मिलना चाहिए मुसलमानों को पूरा.
SC, ST, OBC समाज को जितना आरक्षण मिला है वो छीनकर ये लोग पूरा का पूरा आरक्षण मुसलमानों को देना चाहते हैं.
Okay, Vivek Silas, we both heard that. We'll try and listen to that in completion also. But Vivek Silas, before I come back to you, Madhavan Narayanan, back to you at this point. Of course, political narratives will be flying left, right and center. It's the elections. That's the job of politicians. Between all of this, there are voters who are looking. Between all of this, there are voters who are making up their mind. But can the reality of India be contested? Because at the heart of all these things is a community that seems to be caught, is a community that either is being accused of being a vote bank, or a community that is being accused of being given favors, is a community becoming a casualty?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question, Sneha, in the context in which we are functioning. I saw the Prime Minister Narendra Modi talking of wholesale about shifting quotas to Muslims, which I think is absolutely baseless in terms of facts and also anyway simply not possible constitutionally. But at the same time, people like Lalu Yadav as well as Siddaramaiah have been deliberately vague or confused, and in an election in which even accurate things are being misinterpreted and exaggerated, to say vague things will invite more controversy. Now, coming to the Muslims, it was nice to see Madhu Rao quoting 3 constituent assembly members who are Muslims, and probably they had the foresight to imagine that even a small amount of reservation for the Muslims will be exaggerated and twisted and leading to more discrimination rather than affirmative action. So it's very interesting you mentioned Hasrat Mohani, because it's very important to remember that Hasrat Mohani was the one who gave the slogan Inqilab Zindabad. And the slogan Quit India was given by Yusuf Meher Ali, also a Muslim. I'm saying this because there is also this superficial impression that Muslims were all Muslim League with Jinnah. There was a very strong section of secular Muslims inside Congress and in with others fighting for independence. And they were also members of the Constituent Assembly. So this is a collaborative venture in which a consensus was formed. Very clearly, backwardness was defined. Now, 80% of the Muslims already enjoy the same benefits as backward in Hindus. So it's only for political purposes that all sorts of twists are being taking place. And it's sad to see even the Prime Minister saying things which are simply not constitutionally possible. You know, you cannot simply take the quota from here to give there. Karnataka has done it to this level at a time when Vocaligas are not even, technically speaking, they are the intermediate caste. So to simply exaggerate about, the BJP is exaggerating, and parties like Lalu Yadav or Siddaramaiah are deliberately vague in a manner where they want to probably create the impression that they are creating a quota which already exists under the Constitution and upheld by the Supreme Court. So this is very tragic. I think viewers who are watching this should be waking up to the fact that don't trust politicians on this. You have jurists and academics and media people to explain these things to you. Otherwise, you'll be completely misled.
All right. Okay, a last round of questions to Madhu and Rao and Vivek Silas. You both are going to take on each other on this particular question before I come for the closing comments to Madhavan Narayan. Madhu and Rao, Madhavan Narayanan and others raising this question, and I'm going to take it straight to you. Where are all the reservations being taken from OBC, SC, ST and being given to Muslims?
Okay. May I give an example to Madhavan Nair? You know what, we all remember there was a Minority Act which was passed in 1992. Let me quote from the Minorities Act of 1992. The central government carved out at least not less than 2.5% of the, for Muslims out of the 27% reservation, 20% reservation which is given to the OBCs. This is what we are talking about. Don't carve out from a percentage which was given to the OBCs. It cannot be given to Muslims is what talking about. If you're asking me the numbers, this is what numbers first I gave you with regard to 1992 Act. And with regard to, I just want to say one thing. Now, caste is a determinate factor for determining backwardness. This has been told in Kaka Kelkar Commission, Mandal Commission. Let me be enlightened. Where is the caste in Muslims? It is not there. Therefore, it was from time immemorial that the caste is a determinative factor of backwardness, and therefore 15.4 and Article 16.4 specifically mentioned for backward classes. And one more question. If you say that, yes, there must be a reservation for Muslims, then scrap 1992 Minorities Act, let them all come under the backward classes commission, then under Article 340. This cannot be done. And there's Article 30 of all, where they do not give reservation for SC, STs and OBCs. Now, where are we heading to? Question is very simple. Congress has been doing appeasement politics
just two
right from
aspects
1947 until till date. No, please give me 30 seconds. Samajwadi Party spokesperson did not even mention about anything about reservation. But sir, kindly listen to me for 30 seconds. I will end it. 1951, Hindu Charitable Endowments Act was passed. 1956, Hindu Code of Bills were passed. Minorities Act of 1992 was passed. Secularism was introduced in 1976, 11/11/1976 without even a discussion in the parliament. And now Work Act has been passed in 1954 and 1995. So where are we heading? Therefore, we are asking every aspect of, if you see these things, Congress has been doing appeasement politics, and we are telling this is not correct. I am only asking, please ask the
Okay.
Congress party
All right.
to abide with the constitution. Don't amend the constitution.
Okay. Madhavan, Narayan, I'll just come to you. Vivek Silas, very quickly come in at this point to counter what Madhavan Rao is saying. But Vivek Silas, before that, Madhavan Rao, you said that where is caste in Muslim? Let me just tell you, minorities definitely have caste. They may not be equal
Sneha,
or the same
you and I
as
cannot decide
casteism in
what is
Hindu.
caste.
But they have divisions, including Christianity, where I come from. We don't call it caste, but you definitely have sects which always are divided on the lines like you would have caste. So to say that there are no castes in minorities is not really.
Where is the caste in Afghanistan? Where is the caste in Syria? Where is the caste in other Muslim countries?
It's not about what's in Afghanistan. We're talking right now about what is in India. You may turn around and ask where's caste in Christianity. There are several. You may not call it caste, but the sections really come into that picture. But Madhavan Rao, I get your point, what you're asking. I will allow Vivek Silas to respond to you, and then I will go to Madhavan Narayanan for the last response. Vivek Silas, very quickly to what Madhavan Rao is saying.
Yes, was the Bharatiya Janata Party spokesman right now said, he mentioned about 1949, 1951, 1992. That is not the question at the moment. At the moment, we are in the middle of an election that is going to decide the Prime Minister of India. And the more serious question is how the Prime Minister of India is, creating a fear amongst the Hindus in India. What did he say? कि आपका मंगलसूत्र छीन के बिकवा देंगे, आपके घर का सोना बिकवा देंगे, आपकी प्रॉपर्टी को नीलाम करा देंगे. अगर आपके पास 2 भैंसें होंगी तो एक भैंस लेके आप मुसलमानों को दे देंगे. What is this? Is this a joke or something going on in the country? What is happening? Are the people of India going to vote for this? And today he said कि सारा का सारा आरक्षण आपका छीन के मुसलमानों को दे दिया जाएगा. What is this? Who is going to believe it? People are laughing at the Honorable Prime Minister. Ki what is he saying? And at the end of the day, I can assure you that the Bharatiya Janata Party and the NDA is going to lose badly because the people are not going to vote on these issues. Not at all. They are not going to vote on these. They have the issues of inflation. They have the issues of unemployment. They have the issues of price rise. Everything is there. Border issues are there. The people who are unable to afford their, the families, the school, education, the health. There are a lot of things. The Bharatiya Janata Party and the Honorable Prime Minister is not even uttering a word about it. So India is not, you can fool someone once, you can fool someone twice or thrice, but you cannot fool everyone all the time.
Okay.
That is what is happening in India, and people are fighting. And people are contesting against the Bharatiya Janata Party, and the Bharatiya Janata Party will be thrown out of power on the 4th of June.
Okay, that's of course something that we'll have to see whether that does really translate into the results that we will see eventually. But Madhavan Narayanan, this is one question that I wanted to ask Faizan. I unfortunately missed out on asking him, but this is a very important question. From your understanding of the political scenario of the reservations in India, do you see the reservations for Muslims being taken out and given to them by reducing the OBC quota? Do you see that?
Very simply, it is not possible except on the margins. It can be done within limits based on very specified criteria. But one most important part is, let us first understand that OBC does not, under the Indian Constitution, stand for other backward castes. It stands for other backward classes. And that includes Muslims, Christians, everybody. So any backwardness, and it's already been decided by commissions and upheld and by the Supreme Court. So personal impressions that Muslims don't have a caste don't count. Only Constitution and Supreme Court matter. And I know for a fact that Pakistan has Muslim communities and castes. You can call them groups or subgroups or sects or castes. Or, in Hindi also we use sometimes biradri, sometimes we say samaj. But sometimes we say jat. So that's just semantics. But the fact is that socially disadvantaged groups based on educational and other lifestyle criteria is established, and that includes Muslims. And as far as discrimination is concerned, Since the Constitution provides for it, it can be done, but within very well-established criteria that must be upheld by courts. So anybody who thinks that this is just a piece of cake from the local bakery that can be handed over from here to there is completely misleading the debate. And let us once more say that, it is important that we evangelize the concept that these ideas of caste and backwardness are not based on casual conversations by politicians, but well-established criteria, which has been in the past considered by the judiciary and will be in the future also. So politicians just using this left, right, and center either to woo Muslims or to scare Hindus are both completely wrong, constitutionally wrong. And therefore, we are the smart youngsters are watching this program. I'm sure they will read up, they have their Google, and they will come to their conclusions. Let's not listen to casual impressions from
Madhavan,
politicians. They are not intellectually qualified.
Right. Madhavan, Narayan, thank you very much for joining us. Madhu and Rao, thank you very much for joining us. And Vivek Silas, thank you very much for joining us. Elections will come and go. India remains. And hopefully, India, as we all see it, will be marching forward strong as it has been for decades. Thank you very much for joining us, all of you. Time for a short break.